So a better way to start 2025 off with the videos is to start having a look around the workshop. So a bit of a workshop walk around for this one. So starting off with, we've got a lot of cool cars in at the moment and a load booked in for this year. We're starting with my own GTR R33 Skyline. So this is, you might have seen some videos, footage of this if you follow us on Instagram. I've had this for about a year and a half now. Used it last year, it was white, raised wheels, 650 brake horsepower. Always decided to strip it back and do a full-on restoration on it, full show condition. And it's had pretty much the works, you know. We're painting the underneath of this. So the body is ready for paint now. I've actually, just this week, we've been starting to paint the panel. So the bumpers, spoiler, that's already in paint in a secret colour that we've made it with Cap C. So big up to Cap C. So it's full one-off colour, one of one. That's gonna get debuted very soon on the channel once this is all in paint. Everything is blocked out now. There's the doors to finish blocking, so everything's gonna get painted next week. Underneath at the moment is just getting seam sealed super neatly because, like I say, we're going to paint the underneath of this. So when I show it, we're going to be putting it up onto stands, mirrors underneath it with lights so you can see the underneath of this car. So yeah, it's a bit of a show queen, this one. But yeah, after this, let's go around there. Volkswagen variant next. So this has been about, dare I say it, about a year and a half. We've had this in the shop, not full on, might be even 2 years. But we're cracking on with it now. Interior is starting to be built. Again, if you've not seen this one yet, get onto the other videos on YouTube. We're doing a build series on this as well. It's had an absolute ton of work. You know, just very briefly, done different front end. Front end is completely custom. We're having air suspension, custom wheels, custom dashboard. We're having a Samsung tablet, which is like a Tesla. That's going to control all the electrics on the car. Custom interior, just started doing the baseboards for that. We're starting to make custom kickboard panels. It's got floating seats, custom floating base box, which I'll show you in a second. 250 brake horsepower turbo engine, which didn't fit, which we're making fit. We've got a custom exhaust, which is going to come through the center of the bumper, which is going to cool as. So the bumper's going to split flames. Can't wait for that. Tailgates electrically open. We've got a panoramic sunroof. This is going full on show car. I mean, full on show car. It's going to be awesome. It's a lot of hard work, but it's going to be worth it. Lots and lots and lots and lots of work. Everything is custom on that. RX-7. We put a stop to this one for a little bit. It's in final primer now. We've got to do some cool door cards. So we've got this NASCAR style cage, which it came in with, the wrap into the doors. So we're gonna have to make some cool door cards to go onto that. Hopefully gonna get skinned in carbon as well. That's going pearlescent yellow. So all hard work is done on that now. We're gonna get these two finished off, jump back onto that, probably the end of March, start of April. Jump onto that, do the door cards, get it prepped, painted, stone chipped underneath, and it's going back for the rebuild. So hopefully that'll be on the show scene later this year. Absolutely awesome car, big carbon wing on the back, floating base box. Have a slip of my tea. So this is a full custom base box. The theme with that Volkswagen is a lot of things are being floated, like floating seats. The Samsung tablet is going to look like it's floating. Air tank on the front, air suspension, that's going to look like it's floating. And the base box as well. Obviously it's not finished yet. We're going to have two 10-inch down-firing subwoofers in this. This aluminium casing is just a casing. We're gonna form some perspex over the top of that, or polycarbonate. So that's the reason that's on there. Once the polycarbonate's done, we can finish the box off. That's a massive task to do that, but it's gonna look wicked when it's done. Bay window camper, this has been testing, let's say. Long old story with this one. But which we won't go into right now. But we're probably halfway through, more than halfway through on the rebuild, waiting for the engine and gearbox. So they're getting built at the moment. We're doing all the, basically getting it rolling at the minute, putting all the cables in there. The problem with this one is at the moment we're getting is it's a crossover model. So part of the braking system is for a 71, part of it's for like a 73 to 79, and parts that are turning up are wrong, or they're the wrong year, or they're not interchangeable. for the year it should be. So it's parts are part finished at the moment, but we're getting there. It's not far off. Able to almost get the wheels on, wait for the stub axles, all the brakes can be finished then, get it buttoned up, door handles, get the glass in, and it's almost going to look finished. Then it's on to the wiring, get an electrician and get the wiring done while we're waiting for the engine and gearbox. Another one, so we're pretty much full at the moment, and we've got so many jobs booked in for this year. It's absolutely awesome. Really, really cool builds booked in for later this year. Nissan Pulsar, GTI RB. We put a stop to this. Unfortunately, the customers run out of funds. We started it, everything was into bare metal. It's just had to literally put a stop to it. So unfortunately, it's sat there waiting for payment, then it's gonna get gone. Hopefully finish it at some point. And I'm hoping the owner can get the panels for it. It really, really needs some full panels rather than making everything out of patches. So that's a real shame, that one. It's a bit of a cock up, that one. It's a real shame. It's a real shame that we can't finish that one. Split screen catering van. Again, we put a stop to this one for a little bit. Again, funds. So this is a problem with a lot of restorations. You start it with all the intentions, you know, you're full on with it, and then something happens. You just have to stop, you know, wait for the customer to sort parts or sort money, this, that, and the other. Then we're going to fire onto this one, full steam ahead on this one by the end of March. And then we're hoping to get it done by the end of this year. It's a big task, it really, really is. So we need a couple of guys jumping onto this one in just a couple of months. A lot has been done on this since the last video. So if you did miss the last video, go check it out. A lot has been done on this. So we got the side panel on, floors have gone in, rear kickboards have gone in, engine bay is finished, rear corners on. Top piece are done, we put more uprights for the strengthening on this. Now this is going to be a catering van. So the roof will flip up, the side will flip down on the other side there, and it's going to be like basically just doing wine, spirits, cocktails, things like that. Wine, so it's going to high-end looking bus, basically. Air suspension, probably some nice rims on it. We've converted it to one side door, which Volkswagen never made those. So we've had a custom length side panel made for it, so you've got more room inside for fridges and storage and things like that. I have a nice sound system. Flip up side, like I said, with 2 monitors, 2 TVs in there. There's a lot going on with that. Subaru engine, which is going to get done elsewhere. So it's a big build, full show condition. That's going to be awesome. It's going to be a really, really nice build, that one. But again, a big build. And we've got loads more booked in for this year. I mean, briefly, got a full custom Trans Am booked in, wide arch Corvette. We've got a Ferrari 355 at the end of this year booked in. Subaru XT, full build on there, air suspension, different rims, full acid dip restoration, T25 crew cab, Doka. We've put a mid-mounted V10 Audi engine in that, air suspension, custom rims again, it's the theme. Obviously finishing mine off. We've got 2 RX-7s booked in as well. Probably more as well that I can't even think of that right now. So it's going to be a full-on year. We've got some really cool builds booked in for this year. My Aston there, a little bit poorly at the moment. I'll be fixing that soon. That will get gone at some point this year. And my common gear is missing at the moment. That's at the NEC Autosport show. I dropped that down at the NEC yesterday. So that's on the petrol hedonism stand. So if you're around this weekend, make sure you go to there. Go to that show. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Cool show. So yeah, might see you there on Sunday. Right, so this week we've had Simon blocking out my R33 GTR ready for paint. Now, unfortunately, the swage lines didn't look perfect. So those have needed a lot more attention. Fingers crossed we can get it arrow straight first time. So we're starting to build up the VW bay window now. Now this van has been fighting us from day one, literally. Starting to build it up now. We've got a 2-inch narrowed front beam on it, basically to bring the wheels into the tallest part of the arch so that when you lower it, you've got a nice amount of wheel clearance. That's why we do it. Now the torsion leaves also have to be narrowed. The top set were perfect. The bottom set, unfortunately, they'd been narrowed incorrectly. So when we came to build up all the front suspension, try and get the brakes on, all the rest of it, we couldn't, literally. We all had to bring those out, order a new set that's been machined correctly, and now we're just in the process of building that up now at the end of the week. So yeah, this van has fought us all the way. On top of that, it's also a crossover model, 1972 to 73. So some of the handbrake parts aren't 1972 that the van is, they are 1973 to 79. But then other parts of the brakes are 1972. So knowing what parts you need is just a pain in the ass, basically. Unless you're an absolute Volkswagen buff or done one of these models before, you would literally never know. You can't just order parts from 1972. They just don't fit, or some of them don't fit. Other issues, the company that did all the welding work on it as well, the tube where the heater cables run through underneath the van, some of the welds had penetrated through, so we couldn't get the heater cable through the tubes. It's just little issues like that. They add hours upon hours upon hours to the job for something that should be literally a 5-minute job. And those hours turn into days, and that turns into weeks, and it takes a long, long time to build these trucks up. So Greg has been busy this week on the Volkswagen variant in the engine bay, getting that engine to fit within the bay. Basically sticking a turbo engine in there that should fit. It was too tall and it was too wide. We've done a lot of modifications to get that fit with underneath that shelf. Which also meant we had to modify the engine lid, which didn't fit either, and basically everything was just sitting on top of the engine. Now, as well as that, it's got the seal. Otherwise, you're going to get the engine fumes into the car, because basically it's sitting underneath the back parcel shelf. So a lot of modifications have had to be done around there. In 6 months' time, we'll probably forget they've even been done, and we've done it in such a way that looks standard, and it still seals and works perfectly. So we tried blocking that little piece out on the swage line on the rear quarter. It still doesn't look right. It's not sharp enough, basically, and we've lost some of the curve with all the material that's on there.
Just gives you a false impression that the front line goes still up.
Next thing to do, and the only thing to do, is to bolt that door on and bolt the front wing on. So I'm just about to get the hinges, get that door, get all the panels bolted on, get them gapped up, and get that line running perfect from end to end. So now the doors and the front wings are on the Skyline. Simon has been able to use the Pro Blocks, draw a tape line down the side of the car, get that swage line absolutely arrow straight and as sharp as it needs to be. So before I can start painting the R33 GTR, I've got to get the paint booth absolutely perfectly clean, ready to begin painted. While I'm doing that, Dan is working on the base for the back seat in the Volkswagen variant. So I'm about to walk into the paint booth and start the paint on my R33 GTR in its custom one-off colour. However, if you want to see what colour I'm going to paint my R33 GTR, next video we can reveal that colour. So don't forget to subscribe and watch all the videos that we're going to bring out, because we've got some mad stuff going on this year. Also, Greg has been busy with that custom one-off mad exhaust, which is about that long on the Volkswagen variant. Now, the exhaust has happened through chance, because we had no other choice as much as anything, because there's nowhere to put the exhaust. There's no room in that car, not even for a 90-degree bend to point at the floor, which is the first idea that we came out with. The turbo sits about that far from the back valance, so there's no room at all for a silencer. Luckily, the turbo sits almost in line with the center level of the bumper, so I had the idea to literally have the exhaust come straight through the center of the bumper. So we've got the parts, we've moved the turbo literally so it is dead center with the bumper, which is, look, almost as anything. And we've got an oval tailpipe now, which is going to be about that big. Oval transitioning to round, which is made up of about 3 or 4 parts. And so basically the bumper is going to look like it's spitting flames very soon. It's going to look really, really cool. Now, one of the last jobs that Simon is doing on my R33 before we get into paint is seam sealing the underside. Now, generally, on any normal car, you would literally just brush seam sealer on and stone chip the underneath of a car. That's standard stuff. Do it as neatly as you can. But not on this one. We're going full show car on this one. The underneath is going to be painted. So we literally put mirrors underneath the car and show it off. The underneath is going to look as good as the roof, literally. So rather than brush the seam sealer on, we're literally just wiping it into the seams and wiping it off. Now, this is a time-consuming, boring, thankless job, and I feel sorry for Sight at the moment, actually, but he's very good at it. So we're sealing it up. It's going to look mint when it's done. And to be fair, you won't even see the seam sealer. Once that paint is on, it just blends in. But it still seals it at the same time for rust prevention, which these Jap cars, they weren't great at from the factory, which is why they'll rust out. So yeah, we're going to town on it. It's going to look mint when it's done. Now, luckily, a couple of things have gone right on the bay window this week. Is the steering and the door handles gone on, and a few other little things as well. We've got more parts turning up next week to get it buttoned up and almost finished and rolling. Dan has been busy on the Volkswagen variant, starting new sill covers, which is all going to look moulded, and speaker mounts in the kick wells as well. That's going to look pretty trick. So first week back has been very, very busy indeed, and I don't see any let up for this year, which is a good thing, to be fair. We've got loads of cool projects on. Next week is going to get interesting. I'm going to get some more colour on my R33, which I'm super, super excited about. So yeah, if you want to see more of these builds come to life, don't forget, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next vid.